Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great episode of Uncanny Media, the show. It's me, your good buddy Spider. And my brain is 3 steps ahead in the conversation, which is why I stuttered a little bit there because I'm already thinking about what I want to talk about, and this is a touchy subject. This is going to be an interesting one. I usually don't wade into the big news stories, the big things that are going on in the news, because we've had plenty of shows where I talk about celebrity worship and I talk about mainstream media and all that other kind of thing. And so usually I don't wade into this, but I think there's something important to talk about tonight, and we'll get to that in a minute or two. Um, First off, how are you? How you doing? I've been busy. I have been real busy. I've been drafting legal documents, which is important for a number of things. Um, I was supposed to go drop those off today, but some circumstances changed here at home, and the schedule we had to change. My wife was supposed to be off work today so that I could walk down to the courthouse. And she ended up not being able to be off, so I couldn't leave my daughter by herself. So I'm going to see if I can do that sometime this week. We're going to figure something out because these are some pretty important documents, some affidavits that have to get delivered. I can't talk too much about it. And I don't want to get into the thing where I don't want to become that person that's all talking about secret projects and behind the scenes and la 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 la. But when you're doing legal things, you're not supposed to, anything that's not already public record, you're not supposed to put out into the public record. You know what I mean? Because it can either help or hurt your case in different ways, and it's unpredictable, and there's attorney client privilege, and, you know, I want to make sure things are done right on this. I don't want to make any mistakes. So, but I'm going to be planning on doing that very soon. The weather's been okay. It's been rainy and stormy, but it's starting to cool down. It is starting to cool down. And the end of August is on the way. It's going to be fall before you know it. I am, I don't know, where did the time go? Where did the time go? Some folks out there, some folks, that little break in my voice there. Some folks out there publicly said that August was going to be their month. August was going to be so many big things were going to happen for them, and it was going to be great. And I don't think that came true for them, but it certainly came true for me. A lot of things are moving forward this month. We are close to breaking even on this podcast as far as ad revenue and plays and things go. And I know nobody likes advertisements. I hate them. They're a necessary evil. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I don't do ad reads myself. Like, I'm not going to sit there and read a scripted, like, here at Uncanny Media, we recommend the use of Scott's toilet paper. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. But we do need them to help support what we're doing and get some funding in our pocket and things like that. And the numbers for this podcast have just been skyrocketing. They've just been amazing, and they're better and better. And the more people that tune in, the more people that click, the more people that listen, the more ad revenue we get. And we are close to breaking even on the costs involved to bring you this podcast. I'm still short of the overall total funds to run all of Uncanny Media because there's a lot involved. There's promo pricing, there's the cost of renewing the various domains, there's a lot of things there. And so we're not at that level yet. We are not making a profit at that level. But this specific podcast, because of your listenership, because of all of you tuning in week after week after week, this podcast will break even. And maybe by this time next year, we'll be profitable. And I have all of you to thank. Every episode, it seems like I'm thanking you, the listener, the consumer, the person who's been following along, and I have to because I appreciate it. It's not that I'm obligated, it's just I'm so humbled. I'm just so humbled by the fact that this many people are now tuning into things that I'm doing and things that we're doing. This Uncanny Earth is coming back next month. We're going to have some new formats. We're going to do some things differently. So it's a great time to be a member of the Uncanny Media community. And I invite you to be a part of it. I invite you to be a part of it. Leave comments, send me emails. If you want to be a part of it directly, you can even, if you have a podcast idea of your own, a video show of your own you want on YouTube, by all means, come talk to me. We'll set you up. I have the technology. We have the technology. We can rebuild them. So if you want to do something, if you want to be in this business, get in touch with me. I'll cut you in on the eventual ad revenue when it starts actually making profit. You will get a cut. Everybody's going to get a cut. That's the plan. The long term plan is when we become profitable, everyone involved will get a piece of that profit. I'm not kidding. I'm not just throwing smoke. I don't know when it's going to happen, so it is a bit of a gamble. It is a bit of a risk. I can't guarantee that you're ever going to get anything because if we might never break even. We might never make a profit. I think we're going to, but it's always possible we won't. But when we do, everybody gets a piece of that pie. So if you want to join up, now's the time. Get in on the ground floor of Uncanny Media. Become a friend of the and a part of the family. I was gonna say friend of the family, but you can also become a part of the family. What else is happening? What else is happening? People are still arguing about the new Halo remake. It's the same stuff. No big deal. We're not going to go back and revisit it. We've already spent time doing that. People are still getting, excuse me, yawn out of nowhere. People are still getting laid off within the greater game sphere, gaming development sphere. Microsoft has been at the forefront for that within the last several weeks, just laying people off left and right. But PlayStation is not innocent. PlayStation is not innocent at all in this. They have been closing studios as well, making some different decisions. So the gaming industry continues to slowly collapse in on itself. Will it recover? I don't know. I'd love to say yes because I like games, but who knows? We're going to wait and see what happens. I'm not going to devote this episode to talking about it, though. That's not what this episode is about. Instead, let's get right down to the meat of everything. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes, as has been said before. Um, let's talk about Lindsey Clancy. Now, if you don't know that name, then you haven't been watching any part of the news or anything like that. And if you do know the name, you might have strong opinions. And we're going to cover both parts. We're going to cover several angles of the case and those strong opinions. Okay? Because there is a lot of discussion going on about this. And normally, a case like this, I would just, if I was interested, I would go over the topical part and we'd talk about it a little bit, and that'd be it. I wouldn't get into a discussion about things, but this is an interesting case. I know where my mind is, and I'm going to tell you that as goes along. Okay, and you're not going to change my mind because we're not having a debate where we're looking to change anybody's minds, right? But we are going to discuss some things because I think there's a lot of valid points to go along with this. Now, I only knew the basics when I first walked into this, and I wouldn't have in any way made this a topic for the bulk of a show had the local wildlife not gotten involved, stuck their foot in their mouth, and caused a whole bunch of local outrage on both sides. And I think that's interesting. I think that's fascinating. Lindsey Clancy is on trial right now. She's on trial. She was arrested because and these are the facts. This is a fact. This is not disputable. Before we get into various people's opinions, let's lay out. She murdered her three children. Okay, she strangled each one of them to death. One of them, they managed to survive the initial strangling, but it caused so much damage that by the time everything got to the hospital and everything, the child was gone. This is a horrific, horrific situation, first off. And let me say right out the gate, she is guilty. Okay. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, wait, blah, blah, blah. I know we're going to get into all that. Don't worry. Don't worry. We are going to discuss things. Because, yes, the fact is she murdered her children. That is not disputable. The reasons why and what led up to that, we can litigate all day long because that's what we're going to talk about. There is a lot of problems that led up to this. This could have been avoided, I think. This could have been something that didn't have to happen. And I'm not saying it had to happen because I don't think it did. I the bottom line, first off, is that she murdered her children and she has to pay for that. She has to go through the court system and she has to suffer the consequences of those actions. I'm unmoved from that because that is a fact. Okay? Now, let's dig into the various things around this. Now, I haven't delved so deeply into the story that I know every single detail or every single person involved or any of this. I don't know. I'll go off what I do know from here on out. And I don't mind that whistling sound that keeps coming through. Apparently, I have my nose is slightly stuffy in a weird way, so every time I take a stop and take a breath, I keep hearing a whistle from my nose. So if you're hearing that, that's my nose. I apologize. Um, Lindsey Clancy had postpartum depression. Apparently, one of the children was a newborn. I have to assume because she had postpartum depression. Okay, and according to various accounts and multiple sources, she knew she had issues going on in her mind. She felt unwell. She felt unsafe. And she apparently reached out for help in various ways. Now, from what I've been reading, and again, I haven't verified all these facts, so if I am wrong on any of these, by all means, don't be afraid to say, hey, this particular fact, you didn't get this right, this is what happened. I haven't done a lot of digging because I don't anytime children are involved in a violent crime, I don't want to really read too deep into it because it's just it hurts. It hits hard. Being a parent myself, I don't want the grisly details. Okay? So if I've got something wrong, reach out and say, "Hey, this is something that you need to consider." Don't be mean about it. Don't tell me I'm an idiot. Don't tell me I'm a scumbag. Don't tell me I'm a misogynist or anything because I'm not coming at this from a blaming perspective. I'm not saying this is all her fault because of this and blah blah. Again, to reiterate, the facts are that she murdered her children. That's not a opinion. That's not me saying anything negative about her. That's just saying what happened because that's what happened. She had postpartum depression. She was trying to get help because she feared that she might do something to herself or to her children. Apparently, the father of the children didn't believe her, didn't listen to her, didn't attempt to help, and was instead, because she was having issues and she had mood swings and things like that, he was having an affair, and she knew about it. But she didn't know what to do about it after the fact. She knew what was happening, but she was trapped in her own mind and she couldn't do anything about it. So, and I don't know if there was any sort of abuse. I don't know if there was any mental abuse, physical abuse, anything like that. I have not looked again that deeply. I see a lot of people saying that the husband is the guilty party in all of this. And I can't say that without a shadow of a doubt because I don't know. But it certainly is a difficult position for a mother who's just given birth, who's dealing with depression when the father of the children is going off knowingly with someone else. That can't be helpful, right? And so the broader conversation is, if she had gotten some help, would she have still done what she did? And when people talk about that, they want to use that in a way where perhaps it absolves her of guilt. They say, oh, well, she wasn't in control of her actions. It wasn't her fault. We need to let her off the hook because she's alive. She's in going through the court system right now. People are saying that, oh, no, she didn't know what she was doing. She was mentally ill. We should cut her some slack. And there's another side that said, no, she murdered the children. She's done. She doesn't deserve sympathy. Anything like that. Blah. And I'm kind of in the middle on that. In a way, I am 100% understanding of the fact that she had mental health problems, that she tried to get help for her mental health problems, that apparently she was not able to get the help she needed, and then she did something awful. That doesn't change the fact that she did something terrible, and she ended the lives of three children. And that is unfortunately the bottom line of the whole thing. It doesn't matter how out of your mind you were. It doesn't matter how mentally disturbed or whatever. You did something that was absolutely terrible and you took three lives. And that cannot go without an answer. That cannot go and just say, "Oh, well, she didn't know what she was doing. She was absolutely crazy, so we're just not going to punish her for that." No, she has to be there has to be punishment involved for that. It just has to be. Now, on the other hand, should we be looking at the case as an example for us to learn? Yes. We should be looking at the case as a way to, we should have identified the signs. Not like me and you, because I didn't know her personally, and maybe you didn't know her personally, and who knows. I'm just saying, as a human species, as a community, we should have recognized that this woman is having a problem. This woman could potentially do something terrible and she doesn't want to do it. And we should have done something. What that something was, I don't know because the mind is an interesting place. The mind is a difficult place. The mind is not a simple place. We cannot just go in and say, okay, well, we're going to do this and you're going to be fine and nothing bad's going to happen. You can't, we're going to prescribe you this medication. We're going to put you on this regimen of health, whatever. It doesn't work like that with every single person. Everyone is different, unfortunately. People are a lot alike, but every mind is different. But could we have done more? And that's the big question. Could we have done more to prevent this? And I think we could have as a greater whole, as a community, as people around this family, this situation. I think we could have done more. What that exactly entails, I don't know. I am not a psychologist. I can't solve all the problems in the world. And I'm not going to try. because I know that I can't. I'm throwing out my thoughts on the whole thing, and you're free to agree or disagree as you see fit. But that's what I think. So we have two facts that are going on. One, that she is a murderer. She did murder her three children. We cannot forget that, and that has to be she has to be held accountable for that. But two, we have to be able to understand how we could have prevented this. We have to look at her case with enough sympathy to understand that this could have been avoided, and how can we avoid it the next time? Because it could happen again. It probably has happened multiple times in the past, unfortunately. So, what can we do to keep this from happening? And we need to be sympathetic. We need to have an open mind, and we need to be able to look at this from a direction of this was a terrible event that happened, regardless of whether she's guilty or whatever. We could have done something differently. So, what was that something, and how can we put that into practice next time? Okay. Now, again, there's developed two sides to this debate. It's not it wouldn't even be a debate except for the fact that now there's two different stories to it. There's the side that is absolute, that she is a murderer, she killed her children, she deserves every punishment she gets, and there's nothing else to it. That's it. Bottom line. Black and white, she did it. That's it. She's an evil person. She's terrible. That's what one side is saying. The other side is saying she wouldn't have done it if people had listened. If people had listened, then she would have not done it and she would have been healthy and maybe we could have saved everyone. So it's not her fault at all. She should be given the chance to atone. She should be, let off the hook because she's just mentally disturbed. And again, like I said, I'm in the middle of all that. I don't think either one of those extremes is healthy. But let's get into the good old local wildlife. Mr. Nice Man. Mr. Nice Man. You remember me talking about him last week? Mr. Nice Man. He's an opinionated fellow. He is an opinionated fellow. And he makes up his mind and he sticks to it. He doesn't budge for anything. And once his mind's made up, you're either with him or you're against him. Remember last time we talked, I told you that he expects everyone to agree with everything he says, and if they don't, then they are a pedophile sympathizer. They are a person in favor of child trafficking and blah, blah, blah. And they're helping the local administration cover up crimes and all this other kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what the facts are. It just matters that if you disagree with him or if you don't 100% follow what he's selling, then you're in that camp of terrible people. And so he, of course, had an opinion about this. He, of course, had an opinion about this. And I'm going to pull up his post because this was kind of a scumbag move. This was a scumbag move on this part, and I don't mind saying it. I wish I could just tell you who this guy was because, ooh, he's a scumbag. But I don't name and shame. When I mention someone's name, it's for factual purposes. It's not for to pile on, to belittle them. Like when I said about Lindsey Clancy, this is her case, this is what she did. It's not, that's public information. Okay? It's just public stuff that's going on. This guy, yes, he has public Facebook pages, he has public groups and public pages, and you could just go on and be like, oh, huh, 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 but I'm not gonna do that because I feel like that's harassment and bullying. And despite what this person is like, I don't do that to people. But Mr. Nice Man, he he made a post about 5 days ago. He posted a picture of an envelope with her name and the address of the hospital that she's being kept at. Because she's being kept. Leave that alone. Bad cat. Anyway, sorry, there was a cat. He was trying to chew on something of my wife's. Um, but this guy, he posted a picture of an envelope with her name and the address of the hospital where she's being kept at because she's being monitored at a hospital for her own safety, right? While the court stuff plays out. They take her to court when she needs to go, and then they take her back to the hospital. So he showed an address, and he said, quote, anyone that wants to remind Lindsey Clancy that, all caps, she's not the victim, her kids were. Back to regular caps. Here's her address to write her a nice little invite letter to the hell she deserves. That's what this man posted. So he put her address. No, it's not her home address because she's not at home. It's the hospital address, okay? But still, it's still not the best look. And then he encourages everyone who follows his page to send her letters reminding her of what she did and what kind of a terrible person she is. Okay? Which is not helpful in any way, shape, or form. Like, why would you do that? And so the comments, the comments, they people turned against him. Wow, people really turned against him. Um, Several of the comments say something like this, quote, I'm out of this group. Bullshit mob mentality, spreading more hate than hope. Going out of your way to target someone who's done nothing to you. Peace. Um, Another one, quote, yep, and this is where my support for you and your page ends. um, Quote, how about you have some compassion? You have no idea what she may have been experiencing with postpartum psychosis. It's real, quote unquote. It's still, then that post continues. Um, I was once a supporter, now I'm embarrassed I was. Bullshit. I hope you actually educate yourself because this is pathetic. Um, and another one, quote, wow, typical male response. Clearly, you haven't been watching this trial or paying attention to anything. This is not a woman who did not love her kids, and I know her kids were victims, but she was also a victim of her system. Now, that's one thing for people to come out and be like, okay, condemn him. But he doubled down. He doubled down on everything. Um, he says, quote, no sympathy and excuses for a child murderer, and maybe people need to say the cold hard truth about a lot of you women with your mindset that you shouldn't be mothers. Um, wow. Um, what else does he say? Quote, she failed her children and killed them. She's not a fucking victim. Well, I mean, no one is saying that she didn't do it, but she is partly a victim of everything that the circumstances that happened. Um, and he just doubled down on everything, and he started using terms like feminazis, and he started throwing out that every person saying that there was extenuating circumstances, anybody that disagreed slightly with the hard line that she's a murderer and she deserves what she gets, he labeled a danger to their own children. And he just went on and on and on about it. And he has lost a ton of support about it. Like, this is the guy again who's been campaigning against local city corruption, he says. Corruption in the city council. And I'm not going to say that there isn't problems with our local government. I've said before that we've got issues here. I've said it. But he goes down weekly. He doesn't even live in this city. He lives in a neighboring town. but he has a grudge because he used to live here. He goes down to the local city. My bad. The headset lost power, and I just disappeared in the middle of a flow there. And then I paused the stream, and then I forgot that I'd paused it and started talking again. So, but anyway, this guy, again, he lives from a different town. He's got gripes here, and he's constantly going down outside of City Hall and the courthouse, protesting with signs and chalk on the sidewalk, talking about pedophilia and a bunch of other things, and which he's weirdly fixated on. You know, I mean, yeah, pedophilia is a bad thing, 100% full stop, no apologies. But he's really on about it. He's really on about his quote unquote hatred about it. And I don't know if that's maybe a bit of projection or not. I don't want to say anything like that. But it's a weird fixation he has that every single day of his life he has to make a post about it or he has to make a video about it or something like that. You know, it seems kind of weird to me. But he goes down, he makes a scene, he shouts, he screams. If they ask him to leave, they're infringing on his rights. You know, he was part of that stunt that went downtown to try to bring guns into the Hall of Fame festivities when they said it was a gun-free zone. And you can argue about Second Amendment stuff all day long, but what he did and his friends did was a stunt. It wasn't meaningful in any way. It was just an excuse for him to shout and try to cause a ruckus. And so he's waded into this. He's got this weird fixation about saving the kids, about saving the world's children. And I constantly have to say to myself, why doesn't this guy just worry about his own kids? He has his own kids that he's raising, and apparently he's doing well at that. I'm not going to take that away from him. They apparently tried to take his kids away at some point in the past, and he fought for them, and he got them back. And that's admirable. Give him some applause for that. Clap, 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 clap. Give him some applause. But that doesn't mean he's Batman. It doesn't mean he's Superman. It doesn't mean he is the savior of the world's children. I understand wanting to help. I understand wanting to shine a light on the fact that we neglect our kids in this society and they frequently go missing or they get abused and things like that. And that's an awful thing that happens. But he's just so hung up about it. Why don't you take care of your own kids? Why don't you stop worrying about everybody else's kids and just worry about your own? Because they're the ones that you're immediately responsible for. And they're seeing you go out and shout and scream and make your little live videos where you shout and you complain. And they're getting the impression that it's a terrible world out there. And yeah, it is dangerous. It is dangerous, but you don't want to tell your kids that it's a terrible, awful world. You want to raise them to be courageous. You want to raise them to be self-sufficient. You want to raise them to be able to take what the world throws at them and make the best of it, because that's how you make a better world. You don't make them afraid. You don't tell them that the world's a scary place and they need to watch their back all the time. Yes, you need to teach them to make sure they pay attention to their own security. Of course you do. That's just common sense. You can frame it that way. It's common sense. You never really know when somebody's going to come at you and try to rob you or kidnap you or whatever. You don't. But you don't need to make it in a way, you don't need to make that point in a way that your kids are constantly looking at the outside world and constantly afraid. Because that's damaging. That's just as damaging to kids as anything else. But that's what he does. That's what Mr. Nice Man does. That's what Mr. Nice Man does. And so he's got this opinion that Lindsey Clancy is irredeemable. She's a terrible, awful person. She needs to rot in hell, blah, 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 blah. And He wants people to send her letters to say that to her. What kind of a mindset is that going to be for her? She's going through this trial. She already knows that she's the one that did it, right? I have to wonder what's going through her mind. I know she doesn't feel right about it. She's got psychosis. She's got mental problems. But I can't imagine that she's sitting there okay with the fact that she murdered these three kids. I am certain that she's there struggling with that, and that causes her pain every day of her life. And you could argue that maybe she deserves that because of what she did. Okay. But to have random strangers sending her letters, condemning her, telling her how awful she is, all this other kind of stuff, is that going to help? Is that going to make a difference? Is that going to make the situation better? Absolutely not. But that's what this guy wants to do. That's why this person is a terrible person. He's an awful person. It doesn't matter how much, like, as far as I'm aware, he takes great care of his own kids. And that's admirable. And I will give him props for that. But he's an awful human being in the fact that he wishes such suffering and such hatred on other people. Like, that's the kind of thing that your kids are going to see. That's the kind of thing that your kids are going to see from you. And they're going to think that that's normal. They're going to think that that's something that they need to do when they grow up. And you can ask yourself, does that make him a good father or a bad father? He's taking care of his kids' basic needs. They're healthy, they're happy, but he's teaching them to hate. He is teaching them to hate and to be distrustful and to be fearful. Does that sound like a good parent? Because it sounds like the type of person who, on the flip side, would say, hey, you see them people with the dark skin? Don't trust them. They're thieves. They're violent. They're bad people. We don't hang out with them. It sounds like that. You see those people with the pale skin? Can't trust them. They'll take your rights away. They'll enslave you. They'll do this. They'll look down on you. They always think they're better than us. Don't trust them. See those people with the yellowish skin tone? They bring diseases. They do this. They think they're smarter than us. They think they're better than us. You know, that's the bad attitudes. That's the kind of thing. That's what this guy is doing. I'm not saying he's a racist. I'm just comparing the fact that this is what racists do. Racist parents use these subtle hints, sometimes outright just, hey, look at those people. Those are bad people. And kids listen. Kids grow up. If your kids don't get exposed to different cultures and different information, they'll believe that. You see those people, you see the way that their nose is, those people are Jewish. Those people, they want to take your money. They want to treat you like this. They are responsible for all the problems in the world. And there are people like that. There are people like that that will just, they don't like Jewish people. They don't like dark-skinned people. They don't like white-skinned people. They don't like this. They don't like that. And they'll make these comments around their kids, intentionally or otherwise. And they'll raise their kids that way. It's a seed. It's planting a seed of hatred towards a certain kind of people. And that's what this guy is doing. He might not be racist, he might not be sexist, but he is definitely planting those kinds of seeds. He's showing his kids that it's okay to be intolerant towards a certain type of person. It's okay to be hateful towards a certain type of person. And those kids are going to remember that, and they're going to grow up. And I can only hope that maybe those kids are going to turn out better. With the power of the internet and a lot of other things, there's a lot of other resources. They might grow up and feel different. I hope. The way that I'm raising my daughter is to be accepting and to be open minded and not to stereotype people based on their appearance, based on their actions, based on the way they talk. And if somebody attacks you verbally, don't worry about it. They don't know you. They don't know a thing about you. Don't worry about it. If they attack you physically, fight back, beat them down. If they're going out of their way to hurt you, then there's no reason not to defend yourself. But beyond that, there's no reason to hate anyone simply because their skin color is darker or lighter than ours. Their accent is different than ours. You know, and that's what the issue is. It's a hate problem. There's a lot of hate in the world today. And there always has been throughout history. Humans are unfortunately a hateful species. We hate people based on status, based on color, based on language, based on so many different factors. They live in a slightly nicer area than we do, we hate them. They have better shoes than we do, we hate them. They listen to the kind of music that we don't like, we hate them. They're rooting for a sports team we don't like, we hate them. They talk funny, we hate them. That's it. It's such a I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. I treat everyone individually. I don't treat anyone in groups, right? Like, I don't, if I have an encounter with a Jewish person and say it's positive, whatever, I had a good experience with this person. I don't translate that into, I had a good experience with the Jews. I don't do that. Likewise, if I had a negative experience with that person, I don't then turn that into, I had a negative experience about the Jews, so I hate them. I'm not doing that because that makes no sense at all. People are individuals. If I have an experience with a Muslim person, I had a great experience with the Muslims. No, I had a hateful experience with the Muslims. No, this particular person either things were great or they pissed me off. Like, it's just this person. It doesn't immediately make it a crusade against the entirety of Muslims or Jews or dark skinned people or light skinned people or Japanese people or Chinese people or Russian people or whatever, or African people or South American people or Hispanic people or Swedish people. You know what I mean? Like, I can't lump people together like that because I've met so many people from so many different cultures, and they've all been individuals. I've met many people with dark skin. I've met many people of European descent. I've met Russian people. I've met German people. I've met Hispanic people. I've met ghetto white trash people. And that's not saying that in a negative way, because some people are like, yeah, I'm ghetto white trash. That's how I am. That's hillbilly people. I've met all these different people, and I judge them individually, not as a group. When I say, hey, there goes that white trash motherfucker, I'm not saying that everybody is white trash. And I mean that as a joke. I'm not saying, and they know that it's a joke. I'm not saying that as an insult to them. I wouldn't go up to somebody and say, you're fucking white trash, if it's going to offend them. That's something that you say between friends who laugh at things like that. because people laugh. You can laugh at stereotypes. You can laugh at stereotypes. There's a joke right now going around between me and my gaming friends about Snickers bars. Because during a game stream, we were playing Call of Duty, and I said Snickers, and apparently it sounded like a certain N word, okay? But it wasn't. It just sounded like that because of the way the mic cut out. I don't say that word. I don't say those kind of things, okay? And of course, one of the guys in the group, he's got dark skin, right? And so he laughed about it. He made a joke about it. They made fun of me for it in the group, and I just rolled with it because it was just a joke. It's a joke between friends. We're not being racist with each other. We're just joking about the stereotype of a word or a bit of language. I didn't even say the actual word, and they know that. It's not how, because I don't say hateful things. But you can find humor in stereotypes with receptive people who feel like maybe they resemble the stereotypes. I'm not going to stereotype somebody who doesn't appreciate it. We're going to have fun laughing about something if it's, oh yeah, man, I love it. This is this thing that I love. I love mayonnaise, or I love fried chicken, or I love this. Ah, ha, ha, ha. It's so funny because it's true. That kind of stuff, whatever. But I'm not going to go out of my way to use that in a hateful way because you don't. Because we're people. We're all people. We're all people. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what accent you have. It doesn't matter what country you're from. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. Everyone is a human being. And that's the umbrella. That's the overarching. That trumps everything else. You can have your little cliques and your little cultures and your little whatevers, your gangs, your groups, your social clubs. But we're all people. We're all people. And parents, just to loop it back around, who say disparaging things about other cultures in front of their kids are damaging their kids. They're damaging their ability to be open minded. They're damaging their ability to get along with other people because they're either going to be afraid or they're going to develop a superiority complex or something, and that could turn into hate. That can turn hateful. And that's when there's damage. And looping it back around even further, that's what Mr. Nice Man is doing. Mr. Nice Man is a hateful person. He feels that because he's been aggrieved, because he's been attacked, because he's been put in a bad position by certain authority figures, that gives him the right to label everybody who isn't directly declared on his side with his opinions. It makes them the enemy. It makes them a sympathizer. It makes them an awful person and a target of his vitriol, of his anger. And he records his videos in front of his kids. He records his videos while his kids are around. And they see the things that he says. They absorb the things that he says. And it's gonna hurt them in the long run. And I feel bad about that. Is Lindsey Clancy guilty? Yes. That's without a doubt. She did murder her three children, and she has to face the consequences. Could it have been prevented? Again, yes. we could have done something to help her when she asked for help, judging by what's come out in the case. It's a complicated issue. It doesn't need to be a one side versus the other issue. You can see both outcomes. You can agree with both things. You can agree that yes, she did do what she did and she needs to be held accountable. But at the same time, we can sympathize with what led to that situation. And that's what really would make us better people. Being sympathetic while also knowing what we have to do, while also understanding that you can't condone certain behavior, even if it was brought on by psychosis or insanity or whatever. You can't show that that is a thing that is acceptable because it isn't. But you can also work hard so that a situation like that does not happen again. Right? I don't think I'm being out of pocket saying that. I don't think that's a a revolutionary opinion. I don't think that we can't see both sides of the issue. So no, I don't excuse Lindsey Clancy for doing what she did. She needs to face consequences. But I'm not going to go out of my way to condemn her in the way that Mr. Niceman from the local wildlife believes we should do. This man again went to a council meeting this past Monday, and after it was over, he went outside and he started an argument. He inserted himself in an argument where it wasn't necessary, and he was yelled at and he was shouted at, and he did the same thing back. He raised his voice, he made a big deal about it, and he recorded the whole thing because he records everything because he calls it evidence and I call it spite. He calls it evidence and I call it spite. He went on his page just tonight to rant and complain and to make a big deal and to play the video clips and all that. And Facebook said no. Facebook shut it down. So he tried again. He tried to go live a second time, and they shut that one down too. And he's like, "Oh yeah, they only want to shut me down because it's the truth." Oh, maybe it's because you're being a harassing, bigoted asshole. You ever think about that? Maybe that's why they're shutting you down because you're being a bigoted asshole. And I don't know if you're ever going to figure that out. But maybe if you try to think about it, look at it a little logically, you might find out that that's what's going on. That's what's going on. So that's it. That's all we've got. That's all we have. And it was a heated night. It was heated. We got into some things tonight. What do you think? Am I off base about this case? Am I out of sorts? Am I completely wrong? Don't forget to drop me a comment. Let me know what you feel about it. Be nice. Be respectful. Don't call me a piece of shit or an asshole or just a jerk because you disagree with me. Don't call me a misogynist because I'm not being that. I'm obviously looking at both sides of the entire issue here. Okay? Give me your opinion. Whether you agree or whether you don't, I'd love to hear about it. I think it's important for us to have dialogue about this kind of thing. It's never as cut and dry as black and white, up and down, left versus right, etc. It's never that cut and dry. There's always a gray area in between that we can examine, we can pick at, we can play around in. And it's necessary for us to become better people by examining this gray area. Okay? That's what I think. That's what I think. It was a pretty heavy episode. It was a serious episode, and I'm sure everybody has opinions about it. That's it. We're gonna be done. Next week is gonna be the 80th episode of this show. We're at 80 episodes. My goodness, where has the time gone? That's 20 episodes away from episode 100. We're gonna have to do something special for that. I don't know what we're gonna do. That's way off in the future, but it's great. And I want to thank everybody once again. Hey, everybody that tunes in, everybody that subscribes, everybody that gives their thoughts and opinions. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of it. You don't have to agree with me. That's the beauty of this kind of thing. You don't have to agree all the time. You just have to have a good constructive opinion back and forth. And maybe you'll learn something, or maybe I'll learn something. Maybe you'll post something in the comments that I will then have to say, hey, you know what? I had not considered that. Thank you for teaching me something. Thank you for expanding my horizons and allowing me to see something from a different direction, from a different angle. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone that helps me learn, that helps me grow, that helps me become a greater person. Because that's what this is all about, isn't it? That's what this is all about. But that's all. That's all I've got. Um, don't forget to follow and subscribe on the various things that I do on Twitch, on YouTube, etc. Go to the uncannymedia.net website. It's going to be updated very soon with a few things. But you can go to theuncannyshop.com and get yourself a t-shirt or a mug or a poster or a shower curtain. Anything. Anything you want, you can get it there with my face on it, or the logo on it, or some inspirational quote, or a haiku about cats puking in my shoes. You know, whatever. Go do that. TheUncannyShop.com. That's it. That's all I have. For real, I'm getting out of here. I appreciate you. I really do. Have a great night.